So today's edition of Lifestyles of the Tax Predator Ruling Class takes us to the very tippy tip of DC. DC is kind of a rectangle, as we know, although part of it's chopped off. And it has, four corners, or it would if the rectangle weren't chopped off, and part of it in Virginia, the part on the other side of the Potomac and Anacostia rivers. Anyway, it's a rectangle that's turned sideways so that the points are the far east, far west, far north, and the missing point is the far south. So we're up at the far north point, basically in Silver Spring, Maryland on our east, and Chevy Chase, Maryland, a very wealthy community in Montgomery County on our east. Silver Spring would be on our west. And this area is called Colonial Village. It used to be a mainly upper class, and DC did have an upper class black community, but it's not really anymore. We're on Redwood Terrace. A lot of neighborhoods here are basically surrounded by strips and even bubbles of federal parkland of Rock Creek Park. And anyway, it makes the property much more expensive. I actually sold somebody a house once in Colonial Village. That is John Koskinen's wife driving away in her Volvo. That's why we're here. The current director of the IRS, the liar-in-chief, lives on this street, and I wanted to show you what the street is like. Anyway, I once sold a house actually on the other side of this woods in Colonial Village. It basically had an infinity backyard because its backyard was public property, Rock Creek Park. And Senator Rockefeller also lives in a house like that, even though he represents West Virginia, he's lived in D.C. forever. And like a multi-million-dollar estate that's completely surrounded by federal parkland, which is what a lot of people get a lot of benefit out of the federal parkland, who are all people who own million-dollar houses. This house appears to be abandoned. It's got all kinds of padlocks on it. But if somebody buys it and renovates it very slightly, it'd be worth $3 million given where it's located. This one also seems empty. So he's on a spooky block full of houses that are all worth between $1 and $2 million and would be worth more if they were fixed up. But the two houses on the end, it's only the two on the end, are both currently empty. One's even sort of padlocked up. Now this house, which is nicer than Koskinen's house, I delivered some election flyers to everybody's house except for Koskinen's as I was doing this. Some of these houses have swimming pools in the back, including, I believe, that one. These people, this shows you how very trusting and safe this neighborhood is. They've got their front door open. Anyway, in this neighborhood, it's not historically preserved, so there's a mix of styles. So here's this very brick, almost Rambler, except it's 2 stories tall, boring kind of structure in the midst of these somewhat more Georgian and Tudor and etc. This is Koskinen's house, the kind of Tudor influence thing. You can see it's got a wing on the back. Miss Koskinen is a professor of education at the University of Maryland, which is where she got her degree. Looks like their roof has some moss growing on it. It makes it kind of attractive. It's a slate roof, or it looks like a slate roof, or wood shingles or something. Anyway, there's this house, kind of cute. It's also a brick, but it's more interesting than its neighbor brick house. I'm doing this partly because there were no pictures of the Koskinen's house, because they bought it so very long ago. It was pre-internet. This is the residence of the Central African Republic. This neighborhood is sprinkled with embassies from less well-off countries, and ambassadorial residences and consulates. Although most of the properties they own up here are worth $1 or $2 million, and some of them own like several properties. The street's called Redwood Terrace, by the way. Only has one block, the 1800 block. I won't actually give out anyone's actual address. You can see, though, how pretty it is. Lots of trees. a variety of kinds of cars. There's an old Jaguar and an old Cadillac on the block. Another somewhat cute house. Their construction. Now this is nice. This stone front, because it would take money now to have someone go collect that kind of stone and put it together for you. So it's a mix of kind of sort of large suburban-y looking brick houses. Look kind of like the Brady Bunch house. I always call those Brady Bunch houses. But obviously were built in the 60s and 70s. And then some older, more substantial Tudery houses. But you can see for DC, they have very large lots, very mature trees, very safe, embassies mixed in. A lot of stone and brickwork on some of them. It's not an inexpensive neighborhood. Now, when Koskinen bought here, it was probably much cheaper. He may have bought the house for like only $300,000 or something. Even though Zillow and Trulia and all those places now say it's worth like 1.8, he's managed to keep it tax assessed for more like 1.2 or 1.4. I don't know if that's just the incompetence of the DC tax people or if that's a special Benny you get when you're the IRS director to keep your house, and before that a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac director to keep your appraisals down. Anyway, that's Redwood Terrace, where Koskinen lives.